So today we'll study the bean life cycle management. How we can manage the life cycle of the bean. Okay, and this can be done in three ways. First is the programmatic approach, second is the XML approach, and third is the annotation based approach. In the programmatic approach, we will have to implement two interfaces in our class of which we want the bean. So if I want a bean of the class student, then the class student will implement two interfaces, initializing bean and disposable bean. And of the initializing bean, I will override the after property set method, and of the disposable bean, I'll override the destroy bean. Now what is life cycle management is, once an object is created, okay, so the object goes through a creation stage. Okay, so as soon as the object is created, the first method which is called is the constructor. Okay, and then the object goes to a destruction phase. Who destroys the object? The GC. Okay, and just before destroying the object, the GC invokes the destructor. So these methods are implicitly invoked, right? You don't have to call the constructor explicitly, neither do you have to call the destructor explicitly. These are automatically implicitly invoked at the time of object creation and object destruction. But now after the constructor is invoked, after the constructor finishes execution, if we want to invoke a method immediately after this, okay, immediately after the constructor, okay, that is called as after property set. Okay, so the constructor's job is to assign the properties, right, assign the default values. So immediately after the constructor is invoked, if we want to invoke a method, so for that we have a method called as after properties set, and this is a method in the initializing bean interface. So you can write some code over here, your customized code. And similarly, when the destructor is called, just before that, if you want to call a method, okay, so for that we have a method called as destroy. Okay, so this is up before and after. So you can override the destroy method of the disposable bean. So this is a after method, this is a before method. This is after the constructor is invoked, and this is before the destructor is invoked, because after destructor it will go for garbage collection. So how do we manage these? So for that we have three ways. You can manage it through the programmatic approach, XML approach, or annotation based approach. The first approach, let's take that. So I will, in the programmatic approach, I will implement two interfaces and then override methods of those two interfaces. So let's do that. Okay, so for this now we'll do a database program. So let me create one model class which will help us establish connection and insert a record in the database. Okay, so I name that class as student db. Okay, so I make a class called student db, and whatever things I need for database connectivity I'll put over here. So I will be requiring a connection reference, then I'll be using a dynamic query to insert the records. So I'll be requiring a prepared statement, then I'll also be requiring a string query, right, and this I will fetch from the SQL package. Okay, apart from that I will require the driver name. So then I will also require the string database name, then I will also require the string username, and I will also require the string password. These four things I will set via the bean. So let's make a parameterized constructor, and I want to set these three via the constructor. Okay, so I will go over here in the bean and create a bean now. Okay, so what will be the ID? Let's say student DB, and for which class am I creating it? The fully qualified name of the class will be form dot init dot model dot student DB. Yeah. And now in this, I'm setting the arguments via the constructor args. I'm setting the argument via the constructor args. Okay. So which is the first value I'm setting? So the driver. Okay. So I have this detail stored. I'll just fetch it for you. So I have the details. So directly we'll put it over here. Okay, so constructor arg value first is the driver, next is the database name, then is the user, and then is the password. Okay, so this database I need to create Spring May. So let me create this database. Okay, so I've created the database Spring May, and I've created a table called as student in this, and that table has roll number, name, and percentage. This is what we will insert in the database. So database also is created. So once I go back now, once the constructor is invoked of this, now what do I want? I want this class to implement the life cycle, right? So which all interfaces will I try to implement over here? This class implements which two interfaces? I just write init over here, initializing bean, comma, I just say disk and control space bar disposable bean. So now it shows a red line under this class. Go over here and add the unimplemented methods. So the two methods which will be added over here after properties set and destroy. Now what do I want? As soon as the properties, the constructor is called, so the constructor will assign the properties to the bean. Now once the constructor is called, immediately I want to start getting a, so the JDBC code. So I'll say what, class dot for name. Okay, and then what, I'll give the, what would we give in the class dot for name? Driver name, right? So we can say this dot driver name, and then we can create the connection. So con equals to driver manager dot get connection, and what would we pass to it? This dot database name, comma, this dot username, comma, this dot password. And once this is done, let me just sys out that database connection successful. Make sense? And yes, as soon as the destroy function will be called, I'll be using the PS, right? So I'll close the PS and I will also close the connection over here. And then now once this is done, then to insert the record, I will make a method public void insert record. Okay, Now this record, so here I will create the object, the query and everything. Okay, so whatever data I want to insert, so I want to insert the, so what I'll do is I'll create a, we have a student class over here, right? So what does the student class have? Roll number, name. I also wanted a percentage, right? So I could have, then I have getter setters over here, right? Okay, so better I just directly come here. So take on the user. So take a scanner object. Okay. Now it is showing in red. Once you invoke any function of it, then the import will happen automatically. Enter R number, and let's say you take it in R number equals to sc dot next int. So once you invoke a method, the import will happen automatically. This will be a what type? Integer type. Similarly, you will say enter s name, and that will be string s name, and then you will say what, enter percentage, and that also will go into int percent. Okay, now prepare your query. You already have a query variable, right? Query equals to insert into, what was the table name? What was the table name? Table name was student, right? So insert into student values question mark question mark question mark. Okay, and then initialize the ps con dot prepare statement for which query, for this query, and then now, okay, this throws an exception. So we are already throwing an exception, right, over here? Okay, no, throws exception. And now now set the values. ps dot set int first question mark, I will have roll number. ps dot set string second question mark, I will have s name, and ps dot set int for third I will have percentage. And now let's try to execute. It is a ps dot execute update, and if n is greater than 0, sys out record inserted, else sys out record not inserted. Okay, so this function I will call. So now I go to my driver app and make a bean of the student db, and now with this student db function I call the insert record function. Okay, so what is happening over here? It's also okay, throws. So that throws will add a throws exception. Okay, so now if I try to, so here now we have created the insert function is also created. Now I have created the bean also. This bean will fetch the data from there, and then we will call the insert function. Okay, let's try to see if this works. Have we added the jar for the JDBC over here? No, right? Let's try to add the JDBC jar also, so that we don't have any hindrance. Okay, this one, right? Build path, configure build path. Okay, these are your external jars, and from the downloads I can go MySQL connector. This is the MySQL connector jar. Apply and close. Okay, so now let's try to run this code, run as Java application, and see how this works. So we're launching the app. Okay, so after construct, that is okay. So it is asking, so database connection successful. Okay, and now enter the roll number. So this was our database, right? So if you see, where is our database? This is our database. What was the database name? Any idea? Spring May, right?
Student था शायद sir.
Spring May था, Spring May.
Yes sir.
ये था डेटाबेस जो मैं अभी खोल रहा हूँ, स्प्रिंग में, है ना? और इसके अंदर एक स्टूडेंट टेबल है, करेक्ट? स्प्रिंग में के अंदर स्टूडेंट टेबल है. तो अभी जाके यहाँ इंसर्ट करते हैं रिकॉर्ड 101 एलिस और 800 परसेंटेज ना. तो क्या आया? रिकॉर्ड इंसर्टेड. जाके चेक कर लो कि आपके डेटाबेस में वो गया है क्या. तो स्टूडेंट में जाके चेक कर लो, आया क्या?
आया सर.
समझ में आया तुम लोगों को कैसे किया मैंने?
हाँ समझे सर.
ठीक है, तो कंस्ट्रक्टर से अपन ने बीन को इनिशियलाइज कर दिए, और फिर जैसे ही बीन इनिशियलाइज हुआ तो डेटाबेस कनेक्टिविटी कर दिए, करेक्ट?
यस सर.
समझ में आ गया तुम लोगों को?
मुझे ये पूछना था,
हाँ,
ये जार फाइल जो जेडीबीसी के लिए लग रहा है वो हर बार ऐड करना पड़ेगा जैसा
हर प्रोजेक्ट में जार फाइल ऐड कर लेना. जब स्प्रिंग बूट करेंगे तो उसका तरीका अलग रहता है. स्प्रिंग बूट में ये हेडेक निकल जाता मैन्युअली जार फाइल ऐड करने का. उसमें एक फाइल रहती pom.xml, उसमें से जो जो अपने को चीजें लगने वाली है वो ऐड करे तो अपने आप वो जार फाइल पिकअप कर लेता. तो जब फर्स्ट टाइम आप जब स्प्रिंग बूट का प्रोजेक्ट रन करेंगे ना, तो आपने इंटरनेट से कनेक्ट होना जरूरी है, क्योंकि वो इंटरनेट से सारे जो जार फाइल्स डाउनलोड करता. ठीक है, तो ये आ गया. अभी ये था फर्स्ट टेक्निक. ये था कौन सा टेक्निक था? ये प्रोग्रामिंग टेक्निक, राइट? अब उसके बाद अभी एक टेक्निक और है, वो है XML अप्रोच. तो XML अभी देखो यहाँ पर ये जो नाम थे ये फिक्स थे ना. The names of these methods were fixed because I was implementing a built-in interface, right? So built-in interface means the methods are also built-in, so I couldn't. So if I try to change the name, will it accept it? If I change the spelling of SET, will it take this?
No sir.
Right? So now what happens is, I don't want to implement this second approach, okay? The second approach, I don't want to implement this, okay? So now I don't have any compulsion to name them as like this, right? So I can give them any function, okay? So I can give them my init my, or I can give my initializer over just my init. Okay, and I'm not overriding anything, so I can remove this, and I can name that function as my destroy. Where is it? Where is it? Here. I can name it as my destroy. Correct.
Yes, sir.
So I'm not overriding anything. So these are my own methods. So now which is my function which has to be called after the constructor, and this is my function which is to be called before the destructor, right? So I
Yes.
do this configuration in the bean now. I do this configuration in the
B.
bean. Okay. So I will do that configuration over here in the bean. So here what I will do is I will tell which is the init method, which is the control space bar. You see, so which is the init method,
I need, sir.
and then which is the destroy method. Just give
My destroy.
des control space bar. What was it? Correct.
Bean के attribute है ये.
आइए बीन के एट्रीब्यूट्स में, ठीक है, तो ये जो मैंने बीन बनाया ना, तो उसके इनिट मेथड और डिस्ट्रॉय मेथड क्या है वो पास कर दिया मैंने, माई इनिट माई डिस्ट्रॉय. सो अभी हम इधर आ गए स्टूडेंट डीबी के अंदर. स्पेलिंग चेक कर लो भाई. आई कैपिटल है ना इनिट का? हाँ, आई कैपिटल है, ठीक है. अब मैं आई एम नॉट ओवर राइडिंग एनी ऑफ द interfaces, but now it will still work fine. Okay, so now again I go here and I run my driver app, and this should work fine. So after constructor, okay, roll number 102, Ben, and 70%, 79%. Record inserted. If you want to go and check, just refresh this. How was that? Yes, no, maybe.
Yes, sir.
And the third way is the annotation approach. The third approach is the annotation approach. So what happens in the annotation approach is we have a class. Okay, we have a class of that bean. We have to make a bean of that class. Okay, that is called as common annotation bean post processor. What is the class name? What is the class name?
Annotation.
Common. So what is the class name? Common. Come here inside a function and search for common. The computer problem not complete. Normally the extension. What happened? Why is it behaving like this? I'm searching for a class name. Common annotation. The class name is common annotation bean post processor. What is it?
Common annotation bean post processor.
Yeah, so when I give this, it gives me the ऐसे क्यों कर रहा है? तो कौन सी क्लास अपने को सर्च करनी है बोलो? कॉमन एनोटेशन. कौन सी क्लास?
Common annotation.
तो कंट्रोल स्पेस बार दिया, क्या हो गया इसको? कॉमन.
is valid, sir.
ओके, कॉमन. अभी भी क्या हो गया? अभी भी नहीं जा रहा. कॉमन एनोटेशन. हाँ, क्या हो गया, ये कोई पैकेज लाना पड़ेगा क्या इसके लिए? इसके लिए कुछ पैकेज अलग से इंपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा। तो ये जो क्लास हम लोग यूज़ करने वाले हैं, कॉन्टेक्स्ट एनोटेशन कॉमन बीन प्रोसेसर, इसके लिए ये जार कोई लगने वाली है। देखते डाउनलोड करके ये जार होगी तो कहाँ से चला गया, तो बोलता है कोई डाउनलोड करेगा, तो बोलता है कोई डाउनलोड करेगा, तो किधर गया, ये रहा। ओके, ये इसने डाउनलोड किया है एक जार, देखते हैं। शो इन फोल्डर, कॉपी किया इस जार को, इसको कहाँ पटके के जाके आपने इसमें जाके जावा FSD, ओके, इसको कोई जार फाइल बोलेंगे ताकि ये मालूम पड़े कि ये इसमें से ये निकला है। तो इसमें से क्या क्या निकला है, स्प्रिंग फ्रेमवर्क कॉन्टेक्स्ट। तो ये जार फाइल को डाउनलोड करने के बाद ये जार फाइल को जो एक्सट्रैक्ट किए, तो ये जार फाइल निकली उसमें से। अब ये जार फाइल को अपन अपने प्रोग्राम में इंपोर्ट कर लेंगे। अपना प्रोग्राम किधर है, कहाँ गया अपना प्रोग्राम, क्या था प्रोग्राम का नाम अपना, माय फर्स्ट स्प्रिंग बीन ना। तो यहाँ पर गए माय फर्स्ट स्प्रिंग बीन पे और बिल्ड पाथ में गए, कॉन्फ़िगर बिल्ड पाथ, ऐड एक्सटर्नल जार्स। अब मैंने यहाँ डाउनलोड किए उसको आपके अपने फोल्डर में, जावा FSD 2022 जार फाइल, और ये नहीं वो जार, अप्लाई एंड क्लोज। अब जब मैंने ये अप्लाई कर दी, अब मैं जब जाता हूँ मेरे कोई भी क्लास में, स्टूडेंट DB क्लास में गया, अभी जब कंट्रोल आया क्या, कॉमन एनोटेशन बीन पोस्ट प्रोसेसर दिख रहा है, हेलो। समझो उसका मैंने एक ऑब्जेक्ट बनाया ए, और इसको इंपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा। तो ये इंपोर्ट होने के बाद इसका फुल जब इंपोर्ट होती है तो फुल्ली नाम से होती है ना, फुल क्लास अपने को, जब मैंने हैव टू मेक अ बीन, यू हैव टू गिव द फुल क्वालिफाइड क्लास नेम, राइट, है क्या नहीं?
यस सर।
तो इसके लिए अभी अपने को इसका कॉन्टेक्स्ट एनोटेशन ये वाला चाहिए अपने को, यहाँ से तो अपने को यहाँ तो जरूरत पड़ने वाली है नहीं इसकी, तो इसको कट कर दो। इस नाम की अपने को एक बीन बनानी है बस अपने XML में जाके, इस नाम की अपने को अपने XML में जानी है और इस नाम की जाके एक बीन बनानी है, सिर्फ सिंपल सी एक बीन, टॉप में बना दो उसको, शायद बीन्स के अंदर जाओ और एक सिंपल सी बीन बना दो, ठीक है। उसको कुछ आईडी देने की भी जरूरत नहीं, सिर्फ क्लास दे दो बस, क्लास इनबिल्ट क्लास है ना ये, तो ये सब निकाल दो, इंपोर्ट कीवर्ड निकाल दो, ये इसका फुल्ली क्वालिफाइड नेम, राइट। और ये अपनी एक क्या बन गई, यहाँ से वो उठा लेगा उसको, ये बीन अपन ने दे दी। अब जब ये अपन ने बीन इंपोर्ट कर लिए, अब अपने को एनोटेशन बेस्ड अप्रोच करना है, तो अभी अपने पास दो एनोटेशन रहते हैं, ठीक है। एक रहता है पोस्ट कंस्ट्रक्ट, एक रहता है प्री डिस्ट्रॉय। क्या रहता है, क्या रहता है, तो @POS टाइप किया मैंने, आया, और ये मेरा कौन सा फंक्शन है,
ये कंस्ट्रक्टर के बाद का, और ये
हाँ
डिस्ट्रक्टर
बस। तो ये है एनोटेशन बेस्ड अप्रोच। तो ये एनोटेशन जिस क्लास में है उस क्लास को इंपोर्ट करना बहुत जरूरी रहता पहले, ठीक है। तो वो अपन ने बीन में उसका सेटिंग कर दिए, तो अपने को वास्तव सारी, अभी देखो ये सब काम के लिए, इसके लिए ग्रे ब्राउन हो गया है क्योंकि अपन ये यूज में नहीं ला रहे ना, तो इसको आप डिलीट कर सकते हो। अब मेरा प्रोग्राम सेम टू सेम वर्क करेगा। अब ये मैंने एनोटेशन से वही काम कर रहा हूँ, तो कौन से एनोटेशन है,
पोस्ट कंस्ट्रक्शन, प्री
ओके, तो इसके लिए रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है? आपने को एक बीन बनानी कौन से क्लास की?
spring.org.spring framework content.
So this was the issue. We had given the wrong annotations. To the my init we gave pre-destroy, and to the my destroy we gave post construct. So we should have given the proper annotations. That was throwing the error. So, so this is post construct. This is pre-destroy. Okay. Rest all remains the same. The jar files are the same which we used. So jar files are the same. Okay, the one which we are downloaded. I'm using the same one. Let's see if this runs. Okay, it is having a problem with this extended jar file. So what I can do is now I'll remove all these jars file. So I'll remove all the jar files. So I'll remove the logging. Just keep the connector. The rest remove everything. Remove, and then we will add new jar files which we have downloaded over here. So B, go to Spring 2, go to Spring jars new, no, Spring jars, Spring 5 jars, and Spring framework 2.5 release. The docs, no, go to the libs, yeah, and Control A and apply all of them. Apply and close. So use these jars. So once I use these jars, it should run now. Okay, here you go. So 103 Charles and 78 record inserted. Okay, so now I am using the annotation based approach to do the same thing. Okay, what I have done is just added a bean by this name. Okay, you can add it over here, or you can add it at the top also, not a problem. Just add a bean by that name. Rest, and in this bean, then I remove the init and the destroy method. I remove the init and the destroy method from here. Okay, running perfectly fine. If you want to just check whether the record is inserted in the database, then you can go and check, and this record is inserted. Okay.